Gas from heaven into hell, we a product of prison. All I hate is for the system, we unloaded from pistols. Deep within that dark chamber was the seed of my anger. Hopeless black souls in danger, even God was a stranger. Before we came in this world, devils plotted to hang us. Faith in the gospel of Nat Turner, blazing our burners. Moses seen a burning bush, I believe it was George. She was Uncle Tom and Fugazi, nigga, slave employed. And all that talking about trapping don't certify you gangster. Cause I know plenty pushovers who claim they gunslingers. Commercializing the streets, call me the Punisher. Cause I'm back to punish you perpetrators, ain't one of us. And new flesh on the thoughts of God and Malcolm and Unit. I'm a southern street for God, a governor until they do it. And I'm integrated with struggle until my dying days. You can take a third from the street, but not as gutter ways. I'm street incarnated.
Hold up, family. Hold up. I see y'all checking in right now. I'm going to run that back again to let y'all hear exactly what I said. Y'all got to hear this again. You got to hear this one again.
Gas from heaven into hell, we a product of prison. All I hate is for the system, we unloaded from pistols. Deep within that dark chamber was the seed of my anger. Hopeless black souls in danger, even God was a stranger. Before we came in this world, devils plotted to hang us. Faith in the gospel of Nat Turner, blazing our burners. Moses seen a burning bush, I believe it was George. She was Uncle Tom and Fugazi, nigga, slave employed. And all that talking about trapping don't certify you gangster. Cause I know plenty pushovers who claim they gunslingers. Commercializing the streets, call me the Punisher. Cause I'm back to punish you perpetrators, ain't one of us. And new flesh on the thoughts of God and Malcolm and Unit. I'm a southern street for God, a governor until they do it. And I'm integrated with struggle until my dying days. You can take a third from the street, but not as gutter ways. I'm street incarnated.
Islam. We create our own lane, family. You know, we want to rise upon the seven. Give all praises to the great God and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. Give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere. And therefore, honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali brought to make us a nation. You know, we got a grand drawing, family, to bring on the manifest. And this is very important. I want to give honors to my brothers, Brother Born Dog, Noble Brian. Salute, family, man. Y'all brothers always checking in, you know. Be sure to share this particular stream because it's going to be very, very powerful. You know, as you can see, the title is The Racialization and Ethinization of N.B.C, the so-called Negro, Black, and Colored people. You know, and this is very, very important, very powerful, you know, when we go into this special measure. You know, so we got some grand drawing we're going to bring on the manifest to our family today. We just trying to get it in a little earlier because most of the time when we up, you know, everybody sleep. Y'all know we do this during the wee hours, brothers. We be up when everybody else sleep. So we want to actually go into a grand drawing to give our people some concept, about this social construct that we refer to as race, and ethnicity and so forth and so on. Because many of our people are being misled by these special classifications, which really have nothing more to do with, than that which has to do with what we call, a lot of it is based on scientific racism, and everybody always like to say they want a source, they need a source. So we always come sourced up. We don't just say a whole bunch of stuff to our people, just to fleece them. We literally have sources for everything it is we bring out here, and we're going to keep doing it like that. We're going to keep bringing it to our family. Now, what they do with the truth once we give it to them, that's on them. We can't make them understand what it is that we give them. We can try to give them a little clarity, but it's going to be on them to do the research. Most of our people lazy, and so this is why they like to, say that you ain't gave them no source, and even though you give it to them, they still perpetrate as if they never received it, because they don't want to do no work. They don't want to have to do no research. So they use that as an excuse that you ain't gave them a source, so they can't comprehend it. They can't get it right. That's lazy. So we most definitely going to have the sources on the manifest as we begin to demonstrate this special drawing. But it ain't going to get no plainer than the way we bring it out, in a few minutes. And I just want our family again to get the likes up, share this particular video so that the people can see all this great information that they missing. You see, we ain't worrying about the naysayers, and those who just gonna be in opposition for the sake of being in opposition. We trying to reach the young and not yet born, third and fourth generation, 3 and 4 and 7. We trying to reach those who really have a will to know themselves, so to speak. Those who really want to come into a clear conception, that will bring us all into unity. You see, these are the people that we concerned with. We ain't concerned with, them individuals that want to stay at the same level, spinning their wheels in the mud, so to speak, and ain't going nowhere. I can even compare one to a hamster in a wheel, going nowhere, running, going nowhere fast, basically. So yeah, we got some grand drawings, family. So like I said, be sure to share this particular video. I've already did a lot of my sharing, and I don't really care too much of how great the number is here, because I'm gonna teach regardless. But we really want our people to hear this particular measure right here. This is a powerful drawing. So I just want to say gratitude for those who've been supporting the channel, and all of those whom are yet to come, those who ain't got here yet, because we're going to build a pure platform over here, family, so that when our people get this truth, they can really be uplifted as a result of the truth, as opposed to, feeling as if they haven't accomplished anything. Like we see that going on as we deal with people on different platforms. When it comes to dealing with this platform, though, we're going to bring our people to some closure with these issues. That's what we want to do. We want to give you closure, so we don't have to keep going over the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? This is where we at with it. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to get into this here. Okay, I want to give honors to our family too. Old brother Yakub El Hamid Gamma Bay, Body Bay, Sister Dosinell. I'm gonna open this up too. I'm gonna throw this link down there for anybody that want to get up here on the stream. We don't kick people off our panel, and we don't treat our guests with disrespect neither. This is a powerful thing that we're gonna go on. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen, and in the process of sharing my screen, I'll be looking back and forth as I'm going through this information. Y'all gonna love this right here. Okay, so let me share my screen here real quick. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna share system audio just in case I want to share a video or something that'll already be there. Okay. All right, so here we go, family. Remember, our subject title is dealing with the racialization and ethinization of N.B.C, the so-called Negro, Black, and colored people. You see? So y'all already see where we're going to a certain extent, but we're going to get a little deep into it. I want to give y'all a recent article in the New York Times. Recent, as far as dealing with us, but not, we know it's got 2016 on it, but it's still recent in relation to dealing with, this discussion on race and racial identity, because many of our people don't know about this. So in this particular article, it's talking about race and racial identity are social constructs. You see, notice it says race is not biological, it is a social construct, and there is no gene or cluster of genes common to all blacks or whites, right? It says, were race real in genetic sense, it says racial classification for individuals would remain constant across boundaries. It says, yet a person who could be categorized as black in the United States may be considered white in Brazil or colored in South Africa. Now we got to pay attention to this, because if we consider, black, to be a race, but yet ones can be seen as black, in one sense, and then white in a whole nother country, and then colored in a whole nother country, I wonder why. Because any other race, be they Russian, be they Chinese, Japanese, or whatever you want to say, no matter where they go, they still Chinese, Japanese. They still Russian. They still Armenian. They still German, no matter where they go in the world. The only people, that has, a nationality gig that almost similar to musical chairs, so to speak, is the so-called N.B.C, Negro, Black, and colored people. You can be black in this country, then you're white in another country, then you're colored in another country, and you can be all of them in the United States, because they say be all you can be, right? Goodness gracious. This is crazy. So anyway, it says like race. Let me check and make sure ain't nobody sitting in the back. Okay, there we go. I'm going to keep checking, family, to see if y'all, there, just in case somebody want to get up there. The link is there. So it says like race and racial identity can be fluid. It says how one perceives her racial identity can shift. It says with experience and time, and not simply for those who are multiracial. These shifts in racial identity can end in categories that our society, which insists on the rigidity of race, has not even yet defined. So we see a footnote here. Unlike race and racial identity, the social, political, economical meanings of race, or rather belonging to particular racial groups, have not been fluid. Right? It says, as I explained in my book, according to our hearts, whites in the interracial or black-white marriages or relationships frequently experience a shift in how they personally understand their individual racial identity. In a society where being white, regardless of one's socioeconomic class background or other disadvantages, means living a life with white skin privileges, such as being presumed safe, confident, and non-criminal. Whites who begin to experience discrimination because of their intimate connection with someone of another race, or who regularly see their loved ones fall prey to racial discrimination, begin to no longer feel white. It says, after all, their lived reality does not align with the social meaning of their whiteness. And it says, that all said, unlike race and racial identities, the social, political, economical economic meanings of race, or rather belonging to a particular racial groups, have not been fluid. Racial meanings for non-European groups have remained stagnant. For no group has this reality been truer than African Americans. What many view as promising results of the Pew Research Center's data on racial Americans, with details of growing multiracial population and increasing number of interracial marriages, does not foreshadow as promising a future for individuals of African descent. It says, as it does for other groups of color. Unlike their multiracial peers of Asian, Native American ancestry who tend to view themselves as having more in common with more monoracial whites than with Asians or Native Americans, respectively, multiracial adults with a black background, 69% of whom say most people would view them as black, experience prejudice and interactions in ways that are much more closely aligned with members of the black community. In fact, the consequences of the social, political, economic meanings of race are so deep that my co-author Mario Barnes and I have argued that whites who find themselves discriminated against based on racial proxies, such as name, for example, Lakeisha Jamal, should have actionable race discrimination claim based on such conduct. In sum, the fact that race is a social construct defined by markers such as skin color and hair texture and eye shape, ancestry, identity, performance, and even name does not mean that racial classifications are free of consequence or tangible effects. More than 50 years ago, Congress enacted the most comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation in the history of civil rights in the Act of 1964. And it states half of a century later, 2015, the same gaps in racial inequality remain or have grown deeper. Today, the unemployment rate for African Americans remains more than double that for whites. Public schools are more segregated now than they were in 1950s, and young black males are 21 times more likely to be shot and killed by the police than their white male peers. Even a white fourth grade teacher in Texas, Karen Fitzgibbons, openly advocated for the racial segregation of the 1950s and 1960s on her Facebook page. And it says, where will we be 50 years from now? Need I answer that question? It definitely won't be in the post-racial society. So this is just one of the many measures dealing with, and we can find these type of conversations all over the place. I want to thank Angela Unwachi Willie, a professor at law in the University of Iowa College of Law, being the author, of According to Our Hearts, and also contributing to this special column here, and this is dealing with Ryan Lander versus Ryan Lander in the law of the multiracial family. So there's a case actually being cited here. So despite all of these different things, this is something else. This has always been a issue when it comes to our people. Don't nobody else have to worry about having this conversation but us in most cases. Not saying that other people don't have their issues, but like this has literally been the underlying issue that deal with our people, for a long time, since we basically, have been chattel slavery and came up out of chattel slavery, even though some of our people still suffering from mental slavery. So, the most powerful statement right here is talking about this construct on how one can be categorized, again, black in the United States and be considered white in Brazil or colored in South Africa. Again, we the only people that change nationality like people change clothes now. So, again, I'm checking on this here to see if anybody is there. I'm going to keep going back and forth. I want to go into this definition here. This is a definition that most people really don't get into. It's called racialization, basically. And check this out. It says in sociology, racialization and ethinization, which actually is rooted in our title of this particular video, is a political process of ascribing ethnic or racial identities to a relationship, social practice, or group that did not identify itself as such for the purpose of domination and social exclusion. Now, we can't say that we ascribe the ethnic or racial identity white to Europeans because we didn't give them that title. They took that title for their own, you see? But we can say that the title that was given to us, being black, was actually given to us, on the other hand, by so-called white people or European. They gave us this special title, right? And this happened during the time before and during the time of slavery. A lot of it had to do with scientific racism and so forth and so on. But it says racialization or ethinization, it says often arises out of the interaction of a group with a group that it dominates or wants to dominate. And the group that wants to dominate ascribes a racial identity to the other group for the purpose of reproducing or continuing their ways of domination and for reinforcing their social exclusion practices. It is a dehumanization process that evolved from racism, distinguishing dominant group identity as comparatively differently or superior from a non-dominant group for the purpose of oppression. Over the time, the racialized and ethnicized group developed the society enforced construct, internalized oppression, that races are real, different, and unequal in ways that matter to economic, political, and social life, an unhealthy norm that strips them from their dignity of full humanity. See, this is where things like the 3/5 clause come into play. Considering our people chattel property and beasts of the field, 3/5 of a human being. You see, nothing but a mind, a body, and a soul, but yet having their nationality and their divine creed, that which would make them 5/5 in a whole, having these things stripped from them. But anyway, it says this systematic tool used for oppression and to induce trauma have been commonly used in varying flexibility throughout the history of imperialism, nationalism, racial, and ethnic hierarchies. So though you may have those who come with the outcry, say, why don't we just let the past be the past and let bygones be bygones? But yet they still perpetuate the system, of systemic oppression, you see? And this comes in many ways, so much so that, we even begin to accept it as the norm, and some of our people don't care whether it change or not, so this, you can go further and read a whole lot about this. They even have racialized incorporation, all of these things. It says the state, it says the process of racialization can affect newly arriving immigrants as well as their second generation of children in the United States. The concept of racialized incorporation bridges the idea of assimilation. For example, those who are actually, they don't know it, but those who actually give birth to their seed really fall up under racialized incorporation. Even though you might have been here, and we may be descendants of those who were brought here, it's still the same thing. So it says the concept of racialized incorporation bridges the idea of assimilation with critical race studies. It says in general, and the concept of racialization in particular, while immigrants may possess specific ethnic and cultural identities associated with their countries of origin, once they arrive in the U.S., they are incorporated into a society that is largely organized along the lines of race. So even if you was Arab or you was whatever you was, when you come over here and you become a naturalized, so to speak, you have to take on the construct of two categories. Either you're going to be considered white or you're going to be considered black. And that's going to determine your stay here. And most people that are dealing with the Latino gender, because of their bright, albinized complexion, so to speak, they're going to always be considered on their driver license as white. You see? So, it goes deeper. It talks about the racial hierarchy in the United States is pervasive in many aspects of life, including housing, education, employment. Your construct that you have been placed under actually has to do with the way that you are treated, whether people want to accept and talk about it or not. We're going to address the elephant in the room. It says the racialized incorporation perspective argues that regardless of the ethnic and cultural differences across the immigrant groups, racial identification is the ultimate primary principle of social organization in the United States. So even if you wanted to wish it away, you can't wish it away because it's a part of the fabric of this society, family. They want to be able to identify you, you see, and know who you is and deal with you accordingly, so forth and so on. You feel me? Even racialization of religion. Ongoing scholarly debate covers the racialization of religious communities. Adherents of Judaism, Islam, Sikhism can be racialized when they are portrayed as possessing certain physical characteristics. You know, you can be somebody that's from Jerusalem, you know, and if one is ignorant, they'll call you an Arab and say you're a Muslim. They don't see you as a Jew, you know, whatever the case may be. This is how bad, you know, these things are. It says, despite the fact that many individual inheritors of those religions do not possess any of those physical characteristics, this racialization extends to the descendants of the adherents, even though those descendants may often convert away from the active observance of the religion of their forebears, but they may also retain the lingering cultural aspects of that religion for familiar and communal purposes. You know, so one can basically be placed in, you know, we're going to call it a genre, almost like you deal with music, you know, but they can be placed in this special measure based upon their phenotypes. So automatically somebody discriminate against them. We even have some of our people that see that way. They see somebody that look like an Arab, they automatically think it's a Muslim. Or they can be an Arab and they don't care nothing about Islam. They don't deal with religion. They still gonna look at them and have, you know, a particular drawing. Or we can see it, racialization, as it relates to our diet. Just because you don't eat pork or swine, you'll have people automatically saying, oh, you must be Muslim. You see what I'm saying? Our own people participating in this stuff, family. Racialization of labor, you know, involving the segregation of appointment of workers based on perceived ethnic differences. You know, and we see that in most places. We know that there's a dominant class when it comes to dealing with work. And it may be a token amongst our people in a particular area just to make it look like it's a balance. We at least have one. You know, but the whole site is oversaturated, you know, with everything else. So it said this racialization of labor is said to produce a hierarchical arrangement which limit employee agency and mobility based on their race. That's true. Most of the time you'll see our people being laid off by the dozens. You can go through certain places and see European or other people that have their job in longevity 10 and 15 years. You know, but we are expendable because this is all dealing with the science of scientific racism and racialization. The process of racialization is reinforced through presupposed stereotypical qualities which are imposed upon the racialized person by the racializer. Racialization is then normalized by the promotion of colorblindness through the soft language, which avoids highlighting ethnic differences. So though this system exists, ones want to act as if, you know, they are colorblind. You know, this is not possibly going on. Racialization in education, you know, is an educational setting that is apparent based on the teacher, the background they come from, the teacher's race, along with the views that come along with that. Socialization growing up can affect the way students portray themselves in the classroom setting. You know, it also has to do with the number of people who come from the same background because the majority of the population would dictate which group is being racialized. So under these social constructs, you know, it's already depicted, you know, to a people. It's almost like, just like when people come into this country from other countries, they being vetted, you know, and they give them a particular history that's based on where to go, not to go, stay away from, a certain type of people, this is embedded in the society. So it has already been determined that under the racialization expression, people that are so-called black, Negro, and colored, they are overly aggressive. They are, lazy. They are belligerent. Um, they are violent and all this other type stuff. So by the birth of us coming forth with the phenotype that we have, the so-called perceived color of the physical, is causing our people to already have to deal with that. And we have some people who like to try to shy away from that and don't want to discuss it, don't want to talk about it. But that's just like letting the cancer fester and grow. And if you don't address the cancer, then once it get out of hand, only thing you can do after that is, well, leave the physical body, because you allowed it to fester so long, there is no cure for it. That's what I look at, the underlying expression dealing with this racism, scientifically or any other level we dealing with. Racialization and gender. We can see this as it has to do with, the men and women. What comes with that. Sisters often being more promoted to the forefront, while brothers are often being oppressed, and then called up for accountability as to why it is that they suffering as they do. Racialization and incarceration. We already know that our people dominate the prison system. So it goes on and on. We'll let our family do their research on that. This is very important. But now you understand this is a sociological concept, and racialization affects all non-Albion people, whether you like it or not. You see, this is the truth of the matter. We're going to tell you the truth up in here. Let me see if our family, okay, we got the brother Bati Bey up here. Islam, General. How you be, grand man?
Islam, Islam, Islam. And this is a grand measure right here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
this is a
we finna
grand
get
measure.
down to the nitty gritty, grand man. This finna be powerful. So what you think so far, General?
Islam, Sister Grad Sheik. What I think about this topic is that, like you said prior, that this is something that are not just our people. I would say mainly our people are scared to discuss, but the European race is afraid to take responsibility or accountability for the action. And the biggest factor of it is not pushing the responsibility off on them, but when it comes down to the responsibility of us taking ownership for not being a nation of people, and what I'm saying, not doing our research, we're ultimately, since we're not invoking the right, we're surrendering. What I'm saying? And so this racialization and ethnicization, it feeds into every construct of society, like you said before. What I'm saying? And I had wrote an expose on it's called Segue to Trayvon Martin, and showed similarly how what the information in this and what the the chairman, the Grand National Chairman of Most America had put in his book about the prison system, the prison school to prison pipeline, and everything like this. This is very important, but we don't have the gall to want to talk about it up front. This is only being done here in Morris America and on sideshows. What I'm saying? And in the back of homes and things. This is not done on a scale that it needs to be done now because people on both sides are too scared to talk. And so that's what I want to say on that.
Yeah, yes, sir, and that's the truth. They scared to talk about it. It's crazy that a lot of our people, that are suffering on the mental slavery and racialization, they will actually go in opposition to their own people. Let's say if they have a European they invited to their panel, our people go all the way out the way to make sure that they don't disrespect that European, but then they showing, hatred toward their own people based upon whatever name we call ourselves. You see what I'm saying? That's crazy. So I'm gonna go to the next phase in here because it get deeper. It most definitely get deeper. Hold up real quick here. Um, so it goes now into the term white people as a racial classification. It says White is a racialized classification of people in skin color specifier generally used for people of European ancestry. It says, although the definition can vary depending on context, nationality, point of view. It says description of population as white is in reference to their skin color predates this notion and is occasionally found in Greco-Roman ethnography and other ancient and medieval sources. But these societies did not have any notion of a white or pan-European race. The term white race or white people defined by their light skin, among other physical characteristics, entered the major European languages in the later 17th century when the concept of unified white achieved the universal acceptance in Europe in the context of racialized slavery and unequal social status in the European colonies. Scholarship on race distinguishes the modern concept from pre-modern era. No, pre-modern descriptions which focus on physical complexion rather than race prior to the modern era. No European people regard themselves as white, but rather define their race in terms of their ancestry and ethnicity and or nationality. So they call themselves by where they came from. It says, with a population ranging from about 1.2 billion, 1.1 2 billion people out of the in terms of their out of the global population of more than 8 billion white people, it says constitute around 15% of global population, the global population. Contemporary anthropologists and other scientists, while recognizing the reality of biological variation between different human populations, regard the concept of a unified, distinguishable white race as a social construct with no scientific basis. You see? And then they went into some of the physical description that were given in antiquity. I actually have a chart that deal with all of these, measures here. The Amud and Ta-Nehisi, the Hyksos, and yet though they are being spoken of by these means, it actually gives the actual name that these people are referred to. Like the Puttites or the Libyans are called the Marayu, or the Mary people. So we can see that even during that time, the root of the MNR was present. You see what I'm saying? So you can't get no plainer than that right there. They also went into the area of speaking about, let's see here. They was talking about how, they quoted the Vedas in the Rig Veda, where they was talking about black skin being used as a metaphor for irreligiosity. Now some people will probably interpret that now as being racist, but we know that there were classes expressions even in the teachings of India, because we know that the untouchables or the Dravidians, are said to be the oppressed even there. So they even went down into the teachings of Plato, Aristotle, according to him, those whose skin is, dark is, basically referred to as cowardly. Witness the Egyptian, the Ethiopian, those whose skin is too light are equally cowardly. And it says witnesses woman. Persian prisoners of war, they were depicted as white skin because they never were without their clothing. They got a whole bunch of stuff, man. Modern racial hierarchies, white people, Atlantic slave trade, they go into all of that. All of these things are creating different constructs that cause people to go back and forth with each other or in opposition with each other. You know what I mean? So the category formed by colonialism, scientific racism, which we talk about all the time, all of that was created by, so-called scientists. In fact, the one that everybody praising by evolution, Carl Linnaeus, who actually referred to the European as the original troglodyte nigger, according to their history, you see? So we can't get around this, and before they referred to the people as Homo sapiens, the Homo sapien was actually referred to as the Mauritanius Atlanthropus, you see? So on the natural variety of mankind, he came up with this. It's around the same time, a year, of the United States before they come into existence. Look at this right here. What they said as well when he was talking about this. He had grouped into his first and most important race, Europe, Asia, this side of the Ganges, and all the countries situated in the north of Amor together in that part of North America. Notice he used the term Amor. See, even Carl Linnaeus, the evolutionist, had something to do with mentioning a word rooted in the term that deals with the more. Even though he was as racist as he can be, but really a lot of people don't know. See, it's talking about the 4 and the 3, the 4 and the 5 and the race of the Caucasian race, and where they come from. We familiar with most of that history. Then they talk about the light whites and the so-called dark whites, which are really referring to our melanated people that gave birth to the light whites. We know what they're saying in a roundabout way. So I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Mauritanians, Atlanticus. This is what they refer to the Homo sapien as. I wonder why. Let's see if it should give it to us. Let's see. Oh, my bad. Let's see. I'm gonna have to probably do this right here, and it may do it this way. See if they let me pull it up that way. I actually have it too in my other area. They be changing them words so much. I may be able to do it the other way too. May be able to do it like this right here. Okay, here we go. I know I can find it right here. It's a term that they done considered outdated. That's why it's so hard to find, but I know it should be mentioned here. And this is talking about, it should be right down here. Because this is where they actually begin to invent these different terminologies. But originally they referred to our people in here. Let me see if I might have went past it. Okay, that's the African Homo erectus. Let's see here. And I had to actually dig. I may have to go to my page on my Facebook to pull it up if they don't show it. Because like I say, they have, once they take a term and then they adopt another one, a lot of times they try to outdate it. I just want y'all to see what they were referring to the people as before they start calling them the Homo sapiens and all of that. Okay. Let me see. I know it's definitely tied to this special definition here. I'm just trying to see how they added it in here. Where it's at. And that's the problem too. You know, a lot of times they be changing up these different names, you know, and always debunking what it is they have is, you know, their science. And that's why I don't go off of a lot of the information and run with it, so to speak. But I like to show, you know, those things that actually deal with. Look at that, how they like. Look at that. They love to try to depict our people in that particular measure. Hold up. Well, yeah. Just give me 1 second. I know it's up here somewhere. Okay. That's strange they didn't put that there. I tell you what, I'm gonna go here. And then I can go back and get the correct way they spelled it, because it's a more of a Latin expression they had there. I tried to put it up there the way it was. But I do have it up here, so this is okay too. And then I go back to that area because I know they got a whole thing that actually speaks on that. So let me scroll up here real quick. And it's up here in these little slides. It ain't been too long ago that I posted it. Okay, not that one. Not that one. We'll come up on it in a second here. Yeah, this is my little teaching apparatus right here, my little YouTube page. I don't do nothing but post my work, you know, and a lot of the lessons that I be teaching on. This is actually called Linnaeus' work right here too, by the way. Notice he called this the original troglodyte nigger. But he called this one Lucifer right here. Look at Lucifer, y'all. Oh my goodness. You know, and this is powerful because it talk about in the Grand Quran, Surah 2, Ayah 65. We know those amongst you who transgressed in the matter of the Sabbath, and we said to them, be ye apes, despised and rejected. You know, original troglodyte nigga, aka Lucifer. Right there, family. You see it, Lucifer, troglodyte. Now, you know, I'm gonna let y'all see, you know, what Linnaeus was demonstrating there. He brought that upon himself. Hold up. Okay, there we go. I want to make sure. All right. Let's go back here. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I was dealing with racial classification according to the Kemites. You know, and they classified, you know, the people that was indigenous to Kemet, they call them Retinue or Remet. There's also another name, Nesihu, is the East African, or the Sudan, the Merakushites, Mesra, or the Mesura. Amu, Asiatic, is really a blanket term used for a lot of people. You know, the Seba Kushites, you know, which are the original Kushites of Arabia, also known as the Himyarites, you know, the Seba. Then you had the Mesh West, the Tejinihu, Jenihu, Libu, Mari, Mereu. These are your Moors and your Putites now. Tamau, the Hekaukasu. You know, you had one set of Caucasian among the Tamahu, and then you had the Sashu, which is the Hekaukasu also, that just deals with the blanket term of foreigners, you know, Asiatics, whoever. They could have been different people. If they weren't from Kemet, you know, they was giving them that particular title. You know, and it goes into it here, the same thing that I was breaking down right there, but we're going to go a little further, you know. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to go back. I want to close that out. Okay, let's see if I can, wonder why. Oh yeah, it still let me go. That's why I keep going forward. I want to get to that particular measure that I demonstrated. A little bit more. Give me 1 second. We're going to come right up on it, family. Okay, so not that one, not that one. Okay, not that one. Oh, I think I just seen it. Is that it? Oh no, that's dealing with the Egyptian adepts. Okay. Yeah. So I keep a lot of these clips up here so that I can always have them in my archives. A lot of this stuff that you see me building on, I already have it out there. Go right there. This is what I'm looking for. It's Atlanthropus morintanicus, the other way around. But it says, if you look right here, and I'm going to see if I can go back over here. See, it's going back to that. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Like I said, they tried to really get rid of this term and bury it. There are no strange happenings. I'm going to just try to use this first. It's still taking me back to where I was already. Normally it will be in this area here. Let's see. Yeah, it's still there. Or they just probably phased it all the way out. And just put it there, so that's why it's attaching that one particular measure. But anyway, we can actually go and find this here if we looked it up. And that's why it's good to have those particular other books to look into. But they start calling this particular one, by the name that you see here, the Homo ergaster, right? But the Homo ergaster was originally known again as this particular one, the Atlanthropus morintanicus, which actually has to do with Atlas, the proximity of the site to the Atlas Mountains, and the system that ranges in the plateaus of what we call Northwest Africa, extending from Morocco to Tunisia. The Anthropos, which is human being. You see, it says the taxonomic name given by Camille Umber. It says to the genus he established to accommodate a new species. He provisionally proposed for 3 hominin mandibles and a cranial fragment recovered at Umber and Hofstetter in June 1954. The terrifying now called Teknif. And if you know about that name, that's dealing with the west coast of Africa, right? It says near Mascara or Algeria in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains. Although Arnberg noted the new mandibles very closely related to Asiatic, what they call Pithecanthropus and Cyanthropus, so to speak, Cyananthropus. It says in that some features are reminiscent of the Australopithecines, right? And the Tanlanthropus. And then it says he concluded that the fossils cannot be identified exactly with the Pithecanthropus or the Cyananthropus or the Telenanthropus. He says, and so he assigned to him or to them the provisional name Atlanthropus mouritanicus. You know, so it goes on as it breaks all of this down, and he tell you, in the full breakdown, that it deals with, the plateaus of Northwest Africa, extending from Morocco to Tunisia, and Atlanthropus, or the Anthropus, the human being again, Mauritania, the name of the province of the Roman Empire that is coincident with Morocco and Algeria. And this is when the Roman Empire had came in to rule over them, so to speak. But it goes on to Asiatic and Atlas Mountains. Again, it mentioned the Technic, which is also a language that originates over in that particular area, dealing with what they call the Maghreb, the people of the Amazigh. These are the original names they use, and they changed it from that. And the reason I had to mention this, because we know also the word, when you deal with black people and all that same thing, it's still a racialization classification. If we just go right here, let's see, you can see the difference. And there's really no difference in the fact of it being racialized, but it shows, about this measure dealing with the racialized classification of the people of color, again, based on specific population with a mid to dark black complexion. Not all people considered black have dark skin in certain countries. So they're saying the same thing about white. So everybody that got dark skin is not considered black. It says often in socially based systems of racial classification in the Western world, the term black is used to describe the persons, it says, who are perceived as dark skinned and compared to other populations, and is most commonly used for sub-Saharan ancestry and the indigenous people of Oceania. It says, though it has been applied in many contexts to other groups and is no indicator of close ancestral relationship, it says, whatsoever, indigenous African societies do not use the term black as racial identity outside of influences brought by Western cultures. Following the murder of George Floyd in 2020, several style guides, including the AP Style book, changed their guides to capitalize the B in black in 2020. ASA Style Guide says that B should not be capitalized. Some perceive the term black as derogatory, outdated, reductive, it says otherwise unrepresentative, a label, as result neither use or define it, especially in the African countries with little or no history of colonial racial segregation. So they again are telling you this word black ain't got no real meaning behind it. You know what I mean? Northern Africa, they go into how they try to apply these titles to people, and they really don't apply them neither. And all this stuff right here is just racial construct again. You see? So coming over here, I want to come to this term. You often hear me going back and forth with people about this term Mari. From whence right here tell you is the English term Moors, was the Latin designation of Berber population of Mauritania. This is what people get it twisted at and think this is a Latin word, but this was actually the native name of the people that was located in the part of North Africa west of Numidia in present-day Morocco and northwestern Algeria, right? So it says Mari by Strabo, who wrote in the early 1st century as the native name, which was also adopted into Latin. So when you think that it was a Latin word, it wasn't a Latin word. It was adopted in the Latin. It was the name of the native people. So I don't know why people keep skipping over that part. Adopted into mean it wasn't a part of it at one time. So they took this name Mari from the native people family. When you say native, it's talking about the indigenous people. It was the native name. See, Strabo wrote this in the 1st century. That this was the native name. He said it was early as the 1st century. It was the native name which was adopted into Latin, while he cites the Greek name for the same people as Marusi. So the Greek said Marusi. So the name Mari as a tribal confederation, that means all tribes known as this name. So now you understand why the people from different parts of Africa were referred to as Mari. A generic ethnic designator thus seems to roughly correspond to the people known as Numidians in earlier ethnography. Both terms presumably, it says, group of early Berber-speaking population. We know Berber is a misnomer. And earliest Libico-Berber epigraph dates to about the 3rd century BC. So this word Mari actually predate, the Moorish Empire. But it would be these people who give birth to the Moorish Empire. You see? So now that we understand that Mari is a native name and it deals with a tribal confederation name identifying all of the people, now you say, well, all these people can't be Moors. Now you understand why all of them was referred to as Moors. Because it was a blanket term. And this term say genetic ethnic designator. For those who look at the word generic, pardon self, don't think that means fake. Thank you. Okay. Don't think that means fake, family, because generic actually simply means characteristic of or relating to a class or group of things, not specific. So it's basically saying that generic means it's a general term, a common or a collective term. It says non-specific, inclusive, all-inclusive term. So when we refer to this as as they called it here, a genetic designator, this is saying that this generic designator, pardon self, this is saying that this is an all-inclusive ethnic designator, including all of the tribal confederation. You see? So once you understand that the word Mari gave birth to the word Moors, all encompassing, right? Encompassing, pardon self. Broad, comprehensive, blanket, like I say, blanket term, umbrella, sweeping, universal, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. In biology, this relates to a genus. You know what I mean? So a consumer product having no brand name or registered trademark, this deals with what they call generic brands. So a lot of people would like to try to put it in this category, and that's still just speaking of the broadness of the term that's being used. But generic in its first base term has to do with a term that deals with a collective. So therefore, generic designation, an ethnic designator, has to do with a blanket term. Mari was used to express who these tribal people were, and it was the native name that was used by these people, adopted into the Latin language. The Latin did not name the Moors what they named. They took the name and then created, they actually had their own term they created too, the Latin do. I want to say it's Morus or something like that. So during the Roman period in 44 AD, the Roman Empire incorporated the region as the province of Mauritania. You see, the Roman Empire was incorporated, you see, in this region, as the province of Mauritania. But the original people, the Mari, actually gave birth to the Mauritania people. You see? So these are different names that are mentioned here. It's talking about the Mori raised into the southern Iberian Peninsula. This is before the Moors of the Moorish Empire going there. These were the indigenous Mari that were already going into the Iberian Peninsula. You see? And it's talking about the Medes and a wealthy prize to the temple of the fierce Moorish avarice. The raiding is going into various raids of the Mari in the mountains beyond the border of the Roman Empire and across the Straits of Gibraltar. This is, before General Tariq, went over there. You see? And it gives another name in the Christian era, of a by name Mauritius, so to speak, Mauritius, however you want to say it, identified anyone originating in Africa, in the Maghreb. There it is again. Even this name they use as a blanket statement. Why? Because you're still dealing with the Mari people. You feel me? And we can go on and on. We done already showed you the history of this name Mari and how it go all the way back to Egypt. So we ain't going there no more. We just showing you what the Europeans saying that's confirming what I already done told you. You see what I'm saying? And this is going into that whole region, the Numidians, how they raided Roman towns in Northwest Africa. It's giving the dates to you if you like them there. The Moorish tribe that was called the Austriani. They was Moorish tribe, but they was called by another name. So when you wonder, well, how can a Fulani be a Moor? You know, how can a Malian be a Moor? You know, because the word Moor was the blanket term that dealt with all of the people. And this is confirmed in this area. You know, we can go on and on, family. All you got to do is look it up. It's right there. And I know them people that be looking at this stuff, looking at the same thing I look at. They see this, but they don't want to accept it. See, these are the Vandals, you know, the Visigoths and all of that. This is even before, you know, and then it goes further into, you know, the other Moors that come later. This is a whole thing here, and it goes into the Byzantine Empire would remain in control of North Africa until the 600s. Prophet Muhammad wasn't even born, and this was going on. It says when the Muslim conquest of the Maghreb ended, the Byzantine rule in Africa, right? You know, it goes into after the Muslim conquest of the Maghreb, there seemed to have been continued Maori resistance for another 50 years. The Chronicle of 754 still mentions Maori by the High Middle Ages, and in them seems to have disappeared while Christian sources begin to apply the term Maori, Moors, to the Islamic population of Maghreb and Andalusia in general. You see? So that was just their way of saying Moors, but it comes from the Maori, you know, in all actuality, it still originates from our people. So the modern state of Mauritania received its name as a French colony in 1903. It was named after the ancient Mauritania, in spite of its being situated considerably to the south in ancient province. See, a lot of people don't even know about present Mauritania and its state in ancient Mauritania. So you're dealing with the Maori people, you see? So I just wanted to show y'all this, family. You know, yeah, that's a good question. You know, what's Big Chief's nationality? You see, get in the ring. No, I ain't getting in the ring with none of these cats, man, because they got too much hate in them, bro. If I felt like it was going to be conducive to the people, I'd get in there and deal with them. But being that I know it's a bunch of hatred, you know, I ain't dealing with none of these cats. I ain't going to bless them with my presence no more. You know what I mean? They ain't worthy of me coming to them and demonstrating with them. Not just for no conversation and going back and forth and arguing and carrying on. Because if we can't get to no clear conception of what it is, and I'm showing you all these different sources right here, me getting in the ring ain't going to make it no different. Even if I get in there and I win in the conversation, y'all still going to believe what you want to believe. You're going to still reject the Moors. You're going to still do what you do. You know, because I keep showing y'all the same sources and more sources, and you still don't want to deal with it. So it's fruitless for me to get in there and go back and forth. I done went back and forth on this same subject over 10, 20 times, family. You know, and it's really fruitless to keep saying the same thing over and over again. Y'all trying to gain a reputation off commission. Commission ain't looking for no reputation off none of y'all. You know, and I already know y'all can't do nothing with the information that I'm bringing to the manifest. I done proved it on numerous occasions. All y'all try to do when I come on your channel, you know, you try to suppress the information. You know, you try to cut into my bill so I can't give the people the truth and clarity. You know, and I have to say the same thing over and over again. So these are some powerful measures, family. So going further into this, and I'm getting ready to close it because I got to go with our brother 7,000. I'm supposed to be judging on their platform. You know, so I'm going to check in on their platform in a little bit and see what they got going on. But this is another measure that actually begins to go into, you know, the entry of Morocco, but it also starts with what they like to call the ancient Berber kingdom of Mauritania. I already told our people the term Berber is a misnomer that was given by the Arabs. It represents barbarians. That's what they called our people. You know, it's disrespectful is what it is. But they didn't want to call them Moorish gods. They didn't want to call them the Damari. So they called them, the Berber kingdom. So it speaks of the 3rd century BC. This is way before the Moorish Empire. This movement was being demonstrated. So the ancient Moors had motion way back during the 3rd century BC. This is when you have the North African era when Prophet Muhammad, had been on the manifest and the Islamic Empire coming to manifest. Then you have the Idrisids who came in from Arabia. So the Idrisids, and they wasn't even the first, to actually go into it, because we already showed you that the Maori people before Islam were already in those areas of the Straits of Gibraltar, But before the Idrisids, there was another group that I want to point out here before we even go into that. And this group was actually known as the Sufris. And these Sufris, and I mention them a lot of times, they were actually Karaji Muslims of the 7th and 8th centuries. And they established what they call the Madrid state and Silamansa now in Morocco. So, it tell you that in what they call Tlemcen, and also Algeria, Banu Ifrin were Sufri Berbers. Another misnomer, we know this is the Mari. They should be Sufri Mari, not Sufri Berbers, who opposed rule by the Umayyad. These are the ones that I was talking about that fought, the Arabs and ran they behind clean bike, into Saudi Arabia. General Tariq also fought against the Arabs because they was trying to tax them during his time. I mention that all the time as well. So the Umayyad and Fatimid caliphates, they actually had some going back and forth with, and these movements were under the resistance of movements led by Abu Qara in the 8th century and Abu Yazid. This is a later time period, though the Sufris came in during the 7th century into the 8th century. So you had Sufris of the 7th century, then you had some in the later period as well, just like the Mari carried on. These Sufris, being Karaji Muslims, this word Karaji actually deals with the Karajites. These were basically Shiites. You see what I'm saying? They were supporters of Ali. And so a lot of the teachings of Shiites deal with esoteric teachings. So them and Sunni Muslims did get along. Because the Sunni Muslims were the one that, the Abbasid, they were the one that killed Ali. So the teachings of Ali, dealing with a lot of the esoteric sciences and Sufism, all of that went into Africa, into this region of the Moors or the Mari way before, the Orthodox began to try to come in at a later period that we see now. You see what I'm saying? Let me see what our family drawing here. Brother Commission, I went and picked up an unbridged grade anatomy for my studies based on what you brought. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That Gray's Anatomy is important for what we deal with in the late night library class. Yes, you said it right, Brother Calicuz. He said that's because they research one thing, but the Prophet taught us to study and research all things, because all things are bound by cord. That's right, brother. And that's why we call them monomaniacs. A monomaniac is one who study only what they study, and they don't want to study what nobody else studies. See, they like to call us pseudo. So, we call them monomaniacs, So, yes, sir. We give honors to you, family. So, yeah, look at that, though. You got to pay attention to that. So these Karajites, again, they represented those who were dealing with Ali. So you deal with the battle, this round in 657. Now, they just told you that the Mari people had already migrated, over into the region of the Iberian Peninsula before the rise of Islam. So this first wave of Islamic Muslims came through the line of Ali. Again, they were already in opposition to Sunni Islam. So that's why they were actually fighting, the Umayyad dynasty, as I just showed you a few minutes ago. You see what I'm saying? So after that time, the Idrisid dynasty, there was also Idrisid dynasty. There were two different Idrisid dynasties. But there was one Idrisid dynasty that had to do with Fatima. who was the wife of Ali. You see? And so they established the Idrisid dynasty, and that's another influence of the same esoteric doctrine or teachings that they were dealing with. So these people were not dealing with Orthodox Islam, they were dealing with the more esoteric side, and Sufism and all that also took its root, in Morocco. You see what I'm saying? All you got to do is do the history. So we can see how it was not only a purely African invasion, but we can also see how Sufism dominates, and we talked about the Straits of Gibraltar, and Tariq ibn Zaid. Then you had Mansa Musa, he wasn't far from that particular time period. He was one that was also a Moor. Then you had the Fatimids. The Fatimid dynasty also were, dealing with the 12 Imams of Shiism, Shia Islam. So these are all the esoteric teachings, family, that went into the Maghrib, the teachings of Shia Islam and the teachings of Sufism. And this is what dominated that. You see? See, it was talking about the Idrisid dynasty here in detail, and it goes into the ruling of most present day Morocco, present day Western Algeria, Idris the First, founders of the Moroccan Muslim state, so I mean, it don't get no plainer than that. So we can see from here all these teachings. So people like to ask what our school of thought is. I'm gonna close on this note, like I say, because I ain't trying to make it long drawn out. I'm trying to shorten my measures up a little bit. This is a measure in the Grand Quran. Awuzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. This is from Surah Bakra, the cow. You see, ayat 138. It says, Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sibigatila alahi wa man ashanu min alahi sibigatin wa hanu lahu abidun. And what that states in transliteration, it says, and say ours is the religion of Allah. And who is better than Allah in ordaining religion? We are worshipers of him. But this is actually also speaking on we take on the color of Allah. It says we take on the color of Allah. That's another translation. So what are you saying? Do Allah have a color? That means he has to have a body. Is it saying he melanated? No, the color has to do with the universal laws, the moral code, the attributes of Allah. This Sibagat Allah teaching was the way of the ancient Sabi'un Hunafa that Muhammad studied with, the ancient Sabian Kushites, or the, also coming through the lineage of the Sabate teachings. So they had a rite of ceremony in a form that was known as Sibgatala. So when people ask me, you always speak on Tasawwuf and, the Sufi order. What kind of Sufi are you? Not one of the ones that's actually made in the recent time. I draw on this particular measure coming from the book of Allah. I would call it a Sibigatala, Sufi order. You see, which deals again with basically unfolded into the attributes of Allah. If you would want to know what the practices of this tariqat that's mentioned in the Quran come, I'm calling it a tariqat, or a path, or a straight way to the great God. This is what the Moors dealing with right here. When Allah speak on the Sabians, that's all connected to the same root. But Sibgatala, again has to do with the color of Allah. That's what it means, family. You see? That's what it means. So I'm gonna show you real quick. Because everybody, when it says, this is another transliteration here. Again, I just gave it to you, right? It says, worshipers to him. It says, and we, according to Allah, then is better than who of Allah. And it's talking about the color, and it's using color as religion. So it's talking about the code of worship. So if you want to know what the school of thought of the Moors here in the Moorish American government, Sibgatala, Sibgata. You see? This is our complexion. This is who we are, family. we dye ourselves with the coloring of Allah, the laws of Allah, the attributes of Allah. For who is better in coloring than Allah? We are to worship none but Him. That's the school of thought that we draw from. And everybody break it down a different way, natural way. They're using the word, the baptism of God. They also using that. It takes its color from God. Who can give a better color from God? Dye of Allah. Most of them agree more on the color of Allah, and having to do with worshiping Him alone. So the degrees, of unfoldment will be Mushinun, Esan, and Sibagatala. We'll get deeper into that and explain it at another time. But we want to give our family a grand drawing family, and really give our people the truth, So we giving it to you like it is. We ain't making this stuff up. It's written. It was already written before commission come on to manifest. I'm just pointing out, because most of our people, are not looking at this demonstration. You feel me? And this is our way of life. If you want to know what we identify with, this Sibagatala school of thought, or this tariqat, or this path that we are taking from the Grand Quran, this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali called Islamism. It's the same thing, family, because he told us man is spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. You see what I'm saying? Yes, sir. That go right back to Adam Kadman. Because there's also the attribute of Allah that is known as Qadim, Al-Qadim, which means the first, which is rooted in that same word, that QDM, or the Qadman. So we giving our people the teachings openly. This is what Hierophants do. This is what Egyptian adepts do. Because we link Sufism right back up with the teachings of Kemet, because Dhul Nun, who was from Egypt, is said to be the father of Sufism. He tell you that Tehuti, was actually, the creator. That's who he say he traced Sufism back to, even though they gave him the credit of creating. You know what I mean? We can't get around this here, family. We're going to get deep on this, but that's my word for now. I want to go and keep my word with my brother, and y'all can come on over there. And I may end up I'll just go over there and we'll deal with it. I'm headed over here to the Lions Den, to judge a debate. So, family, be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this channel. And it's just love for you. We're going to keep bringing this truth. If they fully follow this information, they'll see that, this is what Dr. John Henry Clark, was speaking on, family, when he made the statement that he made, and I'm going to let y'all hear it again as I let our family hear it last night in this closing. I'm going to let you hear this real quick. Listen to what the elders say. They want you to believe that the elders, spoke and talked in opposition against the Moors. But nothing can be further from the truth. We have too much information out here concerning who the Moors are. Even our brother here, the good brother, hold up, let me see.
Okay, the periodic table of elements, the laboratory.
Okay.
How to take information, how to take elements and atoms, and to begin to manipulate them to make them into different types of molecules. The basic one is hydrogen, 2 hydrogen is helium, 3 hydrogen is lithium, 6 is carbon, 8 is oxygen. So you have this alchemy that's going to come, and they're going to begin to study, they're going to begin to learn, they're going to create societies that's going to develop an understanding. This is going to be what eventually is going to become Freemasonry, because only a select group of people in Europe is going to be exposed to this information. Okay, the periodic table of elements, the laboratory, how to take information, how to take elements and atoms, and to be.
He's talking about the Moors and how those who would later become Masons had taken from the Moors, basically. Brother Copper, I give honors to that elder, because though he is Kemetic, he give homage where homage is due. Hold up real quick. Listen to our brother John Henry Clark. For those who try to make
I am not against Islam. I see it as a force in human history that has to be reckoned with and that at times has command respect and can again command world respect.
Notice he see it as a force to be reckoned with and has commanded respect, Islam, and can again command respect. Do that sound to you like somebody that hate Islam, family?
If forced to the wall, and if I have to choose between it and Christianity, I would choose it.
You see how strong he said that? If forced against the wall and he had to choose between that and Christianity, he would choose Islam.
I am that disgruntled about Christianity. I'm that disgruntled about it because I think both of them have failed their mission to mankind, and there is no excuse for them failing in their mission to mankind. I don't excuse either one of them.
That's a brother judging between Ma'at, truth and right. He know the condition of how the Muslims were great. You know, the Moors were great. You know, but he's saying that he basically upset that they allowed the European to overthrow and interrupt what was going on, you know, based upon this religious fight.
Them. As I don't excuse the United States or Russia for failing their promise to mankind. Now, I am not a...
Right? That's one of his statements, right? Now watch this. And the whole, y'all got to hear that whole lecture. Man, that thing's so powerful, man. That elder did his thing with that one there, brother. Watch what he say.
I have 2 shelves of books dealing with Islam, Arabs, and their history alone. 2 shelves. And I read practically everything and every word in every book. I grew up a Baptist Sunday school teacher. I belong to an African spirituality. I respect all religions when they practice what they preach.
In other words, don't be no hypocrite.
Now, we have to distinguish between what a religion is, what it can be, and what it promises to be. I have 2 shelves of books dealing with Islam, Arabs, and their history alone. 2 shelves. And I read practically everything and every word in every book. I grew up a Baptist Sunday school teacher. I belong to an African spirituality.
Let me go back to this other one, the last one. The last one, that brother was prophesizing. He was talking about what we're doing right now. Watch.
I am saying that while this is one of the world's greatest religions, its redemption is going to come from Africans who will rescue it, give it a real meaning, make it a world religion, make it a world force for unity, and give it the sense of tolerance and respect for other cultures and religions that it once had, and integrate it into the concept of African culture and African liberation. Either do this or throw it into the ash can of history. Thank you.
Now you see that? The elder gave marching orders and instructions just then about making Islam a world religion from an African perspective. So those who are saying they are the students of this brother that's going against me, you know, and going against us that's actually doing this work that he talk about, they're actually enemies of the work of the elder. You see what I'm saying? Because he wasn't trying to phase out Islam. He told you he would choose it over anything. So these guys are hypocrites, agent provocateurs, and imposters, family. Riding on the coattail, you want to mention the elder, but you want to go in opposition to him. You see what I'm saying? Our brother Khalid Muhammad, he said he's a Moor. He know he a Moor. He wouldn't say if he was a Moor if he didn't believe it. And if he said it, he meant it. So being that John Henry Clark said what he said, or Khalid said what he said, you know, you don't call them elder pseudo. Or do you believe that they pseudo because they said that low key and you ain't saying it? Oh, not to mention Dr. Ben, he didn't say that he would convert to Islam. He literally converted to Islam before he passed. Out of all that he taught, he passed form under the teachings of Islam. So make it make sense, family. Dr. Professor Small on Sarnetta channel, he even said it. You know that I'm a Moor. My ancestors was Moors. You see what I'm saying? So if all these elders is saying the same thing, Brother Kaba, Brother Renoka Rashidi, and you going in opposition to that, bro, that's a consensus of our scholars and our elders saying good things about the Moors and Islam. And you going in opposition to it. Even though they may not have been in the religion, they all had a respect for it. They all had a respect for the Moors. It's only with these so-called students that are here, you know, in the absence of the original teachers, that we find the conflict. You know, and like I said, they're gonna be exposed in due time. It's only a matter of time, because there ain't too many that play with me that I don't expose. You see? You can lead a horse to the water all day, but we already know you can't force them to drink it. You know, but I want to say to the unsuspecting people that really want to learn, would the fish take the bait if they knew the hook was hidden their end? You see what I'm saying? Would the fish take the bait if they knew the hook was hidden their end, family? Watch this. I'm going to give you something else. This is a European right here.
Because Plato's account of Atlantis is the only known record of it ever existing, it's always been assumed that this story was myth and not reality. Even though...
Not that one. That ain't the one I want to show you. It's another that I'm trying to pull up real quick. And then we're going to shut this demonstration down. We will be going back live tonight, though, on our other class. Okay, give me a second here. It wasn't that one there. It's one more clip I want to show y'all. They don't want y'all to get this truth, family. They want to hide it. They feel like I'm supposed to be telling y'all this. But the general opinion of men will never alter the nature of the truth. Where is it? Okay, that's not it. Where is that one clip? Not there. Not there. Okay. Okay, not there. I think somebody took it. It might have been took. I think they might have took it down. Let's see. Wasn't that one? Wait a minute. Was it this one? Let me see.
On February 16th, 1923,
that's still the other one. Okay. I got so much up in here. You know, it's always good to have these clips because they get straight to the point. Sometimes they get kind of shuffled up over here. I believe it's the one over there, you know, that I had here, but they done removed the video, you know, from what I'm looking at. And it's actually in my other information. But it's all good and well. You know, no problem. I made my point clear, you know, in all actuality. So yeah, we ain't going back and forth with these cats, you know, no more in regards to dealing with this particular term, you know, because that's what they do to try to they basically try to redirect the course every time I'm teaching something is what they do. You see what I'm saying? But even the brother from Africa talked about the high priest of Anu. And so what I do want to show you all before I go though, let's see. Here it is. I'm gonna show y'all the African fact book. Y'all get a copy of this right here. Got 800 pages in it. Now this was actually written. This is 143, page 143. I'm gonna show you who it was written by. This was actually written. I want to try to get up there quick. There we go. This was actually compiled, not really written, but compiled by actual Africans. You know, these particular brothers here, you know, they put this book together for Africans in the world over, you might as well say. But this is the African fact book, you know, and this comes through the people in Zimbabwe. And they're going to tell you that even a lot of their own people don't know their own history. You know, they give shots out to a lot of our scholars, you know, as well, you know, and a lot of this information is really drawn from a lot of the greatest that has ever come from amongst our people. So, you know, these are the researchers, all from Africa. You know, a lot of our African brothers, when you get to dealing with them, this is what you pull out on them. See, they got brother, you know, Nkrumah there, you know, K-Way Armor, Sheikh Anta Diop, Ivan Van Sertin, they own it. So they let you know what this pretty much consists of, the works of our greats. This is almost like going straight to it. So let me go back to what it was saying about the Moors here. A little brief little statement. And we're going to close on this note. This is what they said. Notice they said the Moors, Africa's gift to Europe, right? So for the people that be saying Africans never teach about the Moors or mention the Moors, just a whole panel of Africans here, but they're going to say, I made this up. Commission made all this up. Boy, they give me a whole lot of credit, don't they? It said, if you believe conventional wisdom, Africa has contributed nothing to the world's civilization. How big that myth is can be gauged from the great efforts that Western historians have made to hide the immense contributions that Africa made to civilization of Europe in the Middle Ages. So total has been this great deception that the majority of the world today, chief among them Africans, do not know about the glorious Africans who conquered and ruled Southern Europe, it says, for 781 years, between 711 AD and 1492 AD. And in the process brought civilization, education, and general enlightenment to the whole of Europe, then steeped in its dark ages. This is a story about the African ingenuity and brilliance and resourcefulness. It says, but it is not acknowledged in contemporary history by Europeans or Westerners in general. At best, they give credit to the Arabs or Muslims as if an African who converts to Islam ceases to be an African. See, that's how our people thinking over here. You see what I'm saying? They think because your way of life is what it is, that change your nationality. That's one of the most ignorant things I ever hear from our people, but they claim it all the time. It is like saying a Nigerian ceases to be Nigerian because he has become Christian. That is the kind of intellectual somersault employed by Euro-American historians that has ensured that the glorious history of the Africans called the Moors, who conquered the Iberian Peninsula in Spain and Portugal in 711 AD, and almost 800 years thereafter brought civilization to the whole of Europe, is not known even by most Africans. That include our good brother Sekou and a couple of more, not to take a shot at the brother, but saying, you know, he don't have this knowledge. Because a lot of the history of Africa is coming from the Arabized approach, just like a lot of history in the West is coming from the Europeanized approach. So this term Moor was actually basically used for the whole people, just as we use the term America for the whole of this continent. We know we got people calling themselves black people and all types of races in the melting pot, but everybody's still taking on the moniker of America, whether they white, black, Chinese, whatever you want to call them. You see what I'm saying? So Moor was used the same way on the continent of Africa. What's so hard about that and understanding that? A blanket term, a generic term referring to all the people. You know what I mean, man? It go deeper in here. They go to breaking it down. They even deal with scientific racism and all that in here, family. John Blumenbeck, the same thing. See, it's talking about the Moors and brings a culture of scientific enlightenment to Europe. The Moors, people from both Mauritania, a country covered in the area occupied by Morocco and Western Algeria. You know, these Moors, all the way down from today's Morocco to Senegal, Mali, and the Sahelian countries. All these people consider Moors. But when I tell them this, I made it up. Here goes some Africans saying it now. Is this not good enough as a source? Because it got Diop works, all they works up in here. This right here should be enough to kill a conflict. Huh? Them our people, them ain't no Arabs. You know, and it goes on. But y'all got to get this African fact book, family. Like I say, this is the one you can really set them straight with. Because if they go against this, they going against all our greats. I just showed you. He deal with everything. They deal with everything. That scientific racism and everything, family. Our African brothers know who the Moor. Look at that. A Moor in Morocco dating back to 1841. Modern Morocco and part of Algeria used to be called Mauritania. See, that's confirming everything I said earlier, in the land of the Moors in ancient times. Huh? Need I say more? Look at this here. Let's get them. The original black Berbers, who were called Moors, were the North African ancestors of the present-day dark brown, black peoples of the Sahara and the Sahel. Many of those called Fulani, of which I descend. The Tuareg, the Zanaga of the southern Morocco, Kunta of Tebu, the Sahel country, as well as other black Arabs now living in Mauritania throughout the Sahel. They include Traza of Mauritania, the Senegal, Mogaba, it says, which is Moghreb, you know, the Sudanese tribes of Kamba, Chad, and Algeria. These African brothers now, they say Africans don't call people Moors. And now I got to call the people who say that a liar. We got scholars from Africa going in right here, family. I mean, come on now. Do y'all see what I see? Or am I tripping over here? It don't get no plainer than this. The people of the continent letting you know who the Moors. Look at that. They even going to show you the Moors that went over into Europe. The N.B.C family. Man, these brothers is not playing over there in Africa, bro. Look at that. Which Mauritanian empire you want to talk about? That's the problem. The empires together were the Moors. And this is older. This is where actually a portion of my name came from here, Mohadis. You know, that's where I got it from. But you know, like I say, I ain't got to keep it. Y'all got it. Y'all already know what time it is. You know, we're going to make it plain to you. And we're going to stop right there. You know, we may even end up doing a part 2 of this right here, family. You know what I mean? It's a lot of racism going on when it comes to the Moors, though. A lot of hatred coming. See, they don't know about the prophecy, you know, of the Nisut. You know, in reference to dealing with myself, you know, what I was able to recognize as a result of studying myself, right? You know, when it speaks of, you know, the particular drawing that in the prophets of Nefertiti that a Nisut, a king, gonna come from the south of many, justified by name, the son of a woman of Tarseti, the people of Sudan. You see, the child of Upper Egypt, he gonna take that white crown, he gonna wear that red crown, and he gonna join them too, you know, dealing with that lower and upper king, Kemet, that unity. He gonna bring unity between that Kemetic, you know, foundation that was originally established. You know, so we gonna keep it right there. All is well, family. Y'all just stay tuned and stay on the manifest. Love you brothers, man. Cali Cuz, you know, love you brothers, Noah Bryan, you know, Body Bay, you know, all of y'all brothers. It's universal love. Marquise L, honors to you. We love you. Brother Yakub L, Hamid Gamma Bay, Born Dog. It's all love, family. And as for that young brother that has defected, Charles Royale, that young brother, question, we honor you too. That young brother that defected, come up in here listening to us and trying to steal, and now call himself in opposition, trying to debunk what we bringing on the manifest. We ain't gonna give him no light, you know, at all. He trying to ride the coattail too. On every platform I've been on, this man done made shorts on YouTube the whole week. I'm not finna entertain that. I ain't entertaining none of them no more when it comes to going back and forth on the foolery, because it's counterproductive. Our people ain't learning from it, you know, and these are aging provocateurs as far as I'm concerned. So that being said, peace, love, and law at all costs. Like I say, we may have to do a part 2 on this one here, family. The racialization and ethinization of the N.B.C so-called Negro, black, and colored people. We love you. And you know what I'm going to do? We're going to go out the same way we came in. We're going to do it, you know, one more time for those who may have not heard it because they was in the back of the room. Let me give you this right here. We're going to go out with a grand track. It's one of my old tracks too. Let me see here. I got to share my little screen in a second. It's actually called Street Incarnated. Yes, sir. Let me share the screen, share my audio, and all is well. All right. Hold up. Give me 1 second here. Peace and love.
Gas from heaven into hell, we a product of prison. All our hatred for the system, we unloaded from pistols. Deep within that dark chamber was the seed of my anger. Hopeless black souls in danger, even God was a stranger. Before we came in this world, devils plotted to hang us. Faith in the gospel of Nat Turner, blazing our burners. Moses seen a burning bush, I believe it was George. She was Uncle Tom and Fugazi, nigga, slave employed. And all that talking about trapping don't certify you gangster. Cause I know plenty pushovers who claim they gunslingers. Commercializing the streets called me the Punisher. Cause I'm back to punish you perpetrators, ain't one of us. In new flesh, I'm the thoughts of God and Malcolm and Dewey. I'm a southern street for God, a governor until they do me. And I'm integrated with struggle until my dying days. You can take a third from the street, but not as gutter ways. I'm street incarnated.
Peace and love, family. It's all love. You know, that's the old measure of commission. You know, so y'all already know what it is, family. We're going to keep bringing this content. Y'all keep showing up. We're going to keep blowing up. Peace and love. We love you, family. Islamism without the schism. That's Aliism.